Jasmine Washington pushed open the heavy glass door of Riverside Bank and stepped inside. The cool air conditioning hit her face, a welcome relief from the hot summer afternoon outside. She looked around the lobby, taking in the marble floors and the long counter where the bank tellers sat behind their windows. It was a typical Thursday afternoon, and the bank was fairly busy with people standing in line waiting for their turn. Jasmine clutched her phone in one hand and her small purse in the other. Inside that purse was something very special to her. It was her first real paycheck. Not money from babysitting or helping her neighbor with yard work, but an actual paycheck from a real job. She was 19 years old and had just finished her first week as a summer intern at TechVision Solutions, one of the biggest technology companies in the city. She had worked so hard to get this internship. Jasmine had spent months preparing her application, writing and rewriting her essay and practicing for the interview. When she got the acceptance email, she had screamed so loud that her roommate came running into her room thinking something was wrong. Over 500 students had applied for just 10 intern positions, and she was one of the lucky ones chosen. Now, standing in the bank, Jasmine felt proud and excited. This paycheck represented her hard work, her intelligence, and her future. She had already planned how she would use the money. Some would go into her savings account for college expenses. Some would help her mom with bills at home, and maybe, just maybe, she would buy herself something nice to celebrate. Jasmine was dressed casually that day. She wore her favorite jeans, a comfortable hoodie, and sneakers. She had come straight from her morning classes at the community college where she was studying computer science. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore no makeup. She looked like what she was, a regular college student going about her day. The line moved slowly. Jasmine counted 7 people ahead of her. She did not mind waiting. She pulled out her phone and opened the budget app she had downloaded last week. She liked being organized with money. Her mom had always taught her to be careful with finances. Growing up, money had been tight in their household. Her mom worked 2 jobs to make sure Jasmine and her younger brother had everything they needed. Jasmine had learned early that every dollar mattered. As she waited, Jasmine thought about her first week at TechVision Solutions. It had been amazing. She worked with actual software engineers, learning about coding and app development. Her supervisor, Mark, was patient and encouraging. He said she had real talent and a bright future in technology. The other interns were nice too, and they had already formed a group chat where they shared memes and helped each other with projects. The line moved forward again. Jasmine was now 4th in line. She glanced at the bank tellers behind the counter. There were 3 of them working. One was a young man with glasses who smiled at each customer. Another was an older woman with gray hair who seemed very efficient and professional. The third teller was a middle-aged woman with blonde hair styled stiffly. Her name tag read Patricia Hendricks. This woman looked different from the others. Her mouth was set in a thin line and her eyes seemed cold. Jasmine watched as Patricia finished with a customer. The customer was an elderly white man in a suit. Patricia smiled at him, a big bright smile, and wished him a wonderful day. The man thanked her and walked away. Patricia's smile disappeared the moment he left. She called out next, in a sharp voice. 2 more people went ahead of Jasmine. She noticed that Patricia's attitude changed depending on who approached her window. She was sweet and friendly to some customers, but short and impatient with others. When a young Hispanic woman approached her window, Patricia barely looked up and processed her transaction quickly without any pleasantries. Now Jasmine was second in line. Her heart beat a little faster. She was not nervous exactly, but this was her first time depositing such a large check. She wanted everything to go smoothly. She reached into her purse and pulled out the check, looking at it one more time. The amount made her smile. It was more money than she had ever had at once in her entire life. The person in front of Jasmine finished their business and left. Jasmine took a deep breath and stepped forward. She walked up to Patricia's window and stood at the counter. Patricia was typing something on her computer and did not look up right away. Jasmine waited politely, the check in her hand. After what felt like a long time, Patricia finally looked up. Her eyes traveled from Jasmine's face down to her hoodie and jeans, then back up again. Her expression changed. It was not a welcoming look. Her eyebrows raised slightly and her lips pressed together even tighter than before. It was a look Jasmine had seen before in her life, though she always hoped she was imagining it. "Yes?" Patricia said. The word came out cold and clipped. There was no, "How can I help you?" or "Good afternoon." Just that one word, flat and unfriendly. Jasmine felt a small knot form in her stomach, but she pushed the feeling aside. Maybe Patricia was just having a bad day. Maybe she was tired. Jasmine was determined to stay positive and polite. "Good afternoon," Jasmine said with a smile. "I would like to deposit this check into my account. Please." She slid the check across the counter toward Patricia, along with her debit card for account identification. Patricia picked up the check with 2 fingers as if she did not want to touch it too much. She looked at it and her eyes widened slightly. She looked at the check, then at Jasmine, then back at the check again. Her expression was one of clear suspicion and disbelief. The check was for $2,500. It was Jasmine's pay for her first 2 weeks of work, as the company paid their interns bi-weekly at a rate of $25 per hour for a full-time summer position. Patricia held the check up to the light, examining it closely. She turned it over, looking at the back, then turned it over again to look at the front. She was taking much longer than seemed necessary. Jasmine glanced around and noticed that the other tellers were processing their customers' transactions much more quickly. "This is a lot of money," Patricia said, still holding the check up and squinting at it. Her tone suggested that Jasmine had no business having a check for this amount. "Yes, ma'am," Jasmine replied, keeping her voice steady and polite. "It's my paycheck from my internship." Patricia set the check down on the counter but kept one finger on it, as if Jasmine might try to snatch it back. She picked up Jasmine's debit card and looked at it with the same suspicious expression. She typed slowly on her computer, her long fingernails clicking against the keys. Jasmine stood there, waiting. She could feel people in line behind her. She could feel their eyes on her back. The knot in her stomach grew tighter. Something was wrong. She could sense it. This was not how banking transactions usually went. She had been to this bank before to deposit much smaller amounts, though she had never been helped by this particular teller. Patricia leaned back in her chair and crossed her arms, staring at Jasmine with narrowed eyes. The air between them felt thick and uncomfortable. Other customers were glancing over, starting to notice that something unusual was happening at Patricia's window. Jasmine's mind raced. She had done nothing wrong. The check was legitimate. She had earned this money through hard work and long hours at the office. So why was this woman looking at her like she had committed a crime? Why was this simple transaction becoming so complicated and uncomfortable? The moment stretched on. Patricia had not said anything else, but her expression spoke volumes. Jasmine felt her face growing warm. She felt embarrassed, though she had no reason to be. She felt angry too, a slow burning anger that started in her chest and spread outward. This was supposed to be a happy moment. This was supposed to be a celebration of her achievement. Instead, she was standing in a bank, being made to feel like she did not belong, like she had done something wrong simply by existing and trying to deposit her own hard-earned money. Jasmine lifted her chin slightly and looked Patricia directly in the eye. She would not let this woman make her feel small. She had every right to be here. She had earned this check honestly and legally. Whatever was about to happen, she would face it with dignity and strength. Patricia finally broke the silence, but what came out of her mouth was not what Jasmine expected. The bank teller leaned forward slightly and her voice carried across the lobby, louder than it needed to be. "Are you absolutely certain this check is real?" Patricia asked, emphasizing each word. Several heads turned in their direction. "Because girls your age do not usually have checks for this amount of money. Not unless something fishy is going on." Jasmine felt like she had been slapped. Her mouth opened slightly in shock. Did this woman really just say that? Out loud in front of all these people? The words hung in the air and Jasmine could feel every eye in the bank turning toward her. Heat rushed to her face, a mixture of humiliation and rage. "Excuse me?" Jasmine managed to say, her voice shaking slightly despite her efforts to stay calm. "What do you mean by that?" Patricia sat back in her chair with her arms still crossed, looking almost satisfied with herself. "I mean exactly what I said. This is a large amount of money. Banks have to be careful these days. There are a lot of scams and fraudulent checks going around. Young people trying to deposit fake checks, forged documents, that sort of thing." The way she said young people made it clear she meant something else entirely. Jasmine was not stupid. She understood exactly what was happening here. This was not about her age. This was about the color of her skin. This was about Patricia looking at a young black girl in casual clothes and immediately assuming the worst. "This check is from my employer," Jasmine said firmly, trying to keep her voice level and professional. "I work as an intern at Tech Vision Solutions. This is my legitimate paycheck for 2 weeks of work. You can verify it if you need to." A woman standing 2 people back in line spoke up. "I have been waiting here for 15 minutes. Can you please just process her deposit so the rest of us can get our business done?" Patricia ignored the comment completely. She picked up the check again and made a big show of examining it closely, holding it at different angles, squinting at the signature, running her finger along the edges as if checking for something. It was all performance, all theater meant to humiliate and intimidate. "The thing is," Patricia said loudly, making sure everyone could hear, "we have had problems before with people, especially young people, trying to deposit checks that do not belong to them. Stolen checks, fake checks, checks they found or took from someone else. You understand that we have to be very careful, do you not?" "This is my check," Jasmine repeated, her patience wearing thin. "It has my name on it. You have my debit card right there with my name on it. They match. So I do not understand what the problem is." Patricia made a skeptical noise in her throat. "Well, names can be faked. Checks can be altered. I am just saying that it seems very unusual for someone like you to have this kind of money legitimately. Someone like you." There it was. The words that confirmed everything Jasmine had been thinking. The insult was barely veiled now, hanging in the air like poison. An elderly black couple standing further back in line exchanged knowing looks. They had heard words like these before in their lifetime. They recognized the tone, the implications, the casual racism dressed up as professional concern. Jasmine's hands clenched into fists at her sides. Every fiber of her being wanted to shout, to call this woman out for exactly what she was doing, to demand respect. But she also knew that if she lost her temper, if she raised her voice, she would be labeled as aggressive or difficult. It was a trap she had learned to recognize. "Ma'am," Jasmine said, her voice tight with controlled anger, "I have been nothing but polite to you. I have given you my check and my identification. If you need to verify the check with my employer, then please do that. But I would appreciate it if you would stop implying that I have done something wrong when I have not." Patricia's face hardened. She did not like being challenged. "I am just doing my job. If you have a problem with that, then perhaps you should take your business elsewhere, or better yet, maybe you should come back with a parent or guardian who can verify your story." A parent or guardian. Jasmine was 19 years old, a legal adult. She had every right to conduct her own banking, but Patricia was treating her like a child, or worse, like a criminal. "I am an adult," Jasmine said, her voice rising slightly despite her best efforts. "I do not need a parent or guardian to deposit my own paycheck into my own account. What I need is for you to do your job properly and treat me with basic respect." Patricia's expression turned smug. "There is no need to get an attitude with me, young lady. I am simply following bank protocol. If you cannot understand that, then maybe you are not mature enough to handle adult banking after all." A man in a business suit who had been waiting in line stepped forward. "Look, I have been standing here watching this whole thing, and it seems pretty clear that you are giving this young woman a hard time for no good reason. I deposit checks here all the time, and you have never given me this much trouble." Patricia shot him an annoyed glance. "Sir, please step back and wait your turn. This does not concern you. It concerns me when I have to stand here and watch you discriminate against someone," the man replied. "Just process her deposit so we can all move on with our day." Patricia's face turned red. "I am not discriminating against anyone. I am doing my job. And if you do not like how I do my job, then you can take your business somewhere else too." The tension in the bank was thick now. Other customers were whispering to each other. Some looked uncomfortable, others looked angry. A few had their phones out, and Jasmine wondered if they were recording what was happening. She almost hoped they were. Let there be proof of this. Let there be evidence. Patricia turned back to Jasmine with a cold smile. "You know what? I am going to need to call your employer and verify this check. I am going to need to speak with someone there who can confirm that you actually work for them, and that this check is legitimate." "Fine," Jasmine said through gritted teeth. "Do whatever you need to do." Patricia picked up the phone on her desk with dramatic flair. She made a show of looking at the check, finding the company phone number printed at the top and dialing slowly. The whole time she kept her eyes on Jasmine, as if daring her to object or walk away. The phone rang, once, twice, 3 times. Then someone at Tech Vision Solutions answered. Jasmine could not hear the person on the other end, but she could hear Patricia's side of the conversation, and it made her blood boil. Yes, hello. This is Patricia Hendricks calling from Riverside Bank, she said in an overly sweet voice. I have a young woman here trying to deposit a check from your company, and I need to verify some information. Yes, the check is made out to a Jasmine Washington. Yes, for $2,500. Patricia paused, listening. Then she continued in a voice that dripped with skepticism. Right, well, the thing is, this seems like quite a large amount for someone so young. Are you absolutely certain that this person actually works for your company? Because she looks like she is barely out of high school. How would a girl like this have a position at your company that would pay this much? A girl like this. Jasmine wanted to scream. She wanted to reach across the counter and snatch the phone out of Patricia's hand. But she stood there, frozen, humiliated, as this woman questioned her worth and her legitimacy in front of a lobby full of strangers. The person on the other end of the phone said something, and Patricia's eyebrows raised. An intern? Well, that still seems very suspicious to me. Interns do not usually make this kind of money. Are you sure your records are correct? Could someone have made a mistake? Or could this check have been stolen? Jasmine closed her eyes for a moment, trying to center herself. This could not be happening. This was a nightmare. She had worked so hard to get where she was. She had beaten the odds, earned her position through merit and intelligence and dedication, and now this woman was trying to tear all of that down with her baseless accusations and thinly veiled racism. Other customers were openly staring now. Some looked sympathetic. Others just looked curious, as if they were watching a show. A young mother with a toddler in a stroller caught Jasmine's eye and gave her an encouraging smile and nod, as if to say, "Stay strong. You are not wrong here." Patricia continued her conversation, asking more intrusive questions. And how exactly did this girl get this internship? Do you do background checks on your interns? Have you verified her identity? Because banks have to be very careful these days about fraud, and I would hate for your company to be taken advantage of by someone dishonest. That was it. That was the final straw. Jasmine opened her mouth to say something, anything, to defend herself and shut this woman down once and for all. But before she could speak, she heard a voice from behind her that cut through the tension like a knife. Excuse me, what exactly is going on here? Jasmine turned to see who had spoken. It was the bank manager. His name tag read, David Chen, branch manager. He was a man in his 40s with dark hair starting to gray at the temples. He wore a crisp suit and had a concerned expression on his face. He had emerged from his office at the back of the bank, drawn by the commotion. Patricia looked up from her phone call, and for just a moment, Jasmine saw something flash across her face. Was it worry? But it disappeared quickly, replaced by her usual cold expression. She held up one finger to Mr. Chen, signaling for him to wait while she finished her call. Yes, thank you for your time, Patricia said into the phone, her tone suddenly more professional. I appreciate you confirming that information. Yes, goodbye. She hung up the phone and looked at Mr. Chen with a tight smile. Just verifying a check, sir. Standard procedure. Mr. Chen walked closer to Patricia's window, his eyes moving between the teller and Jasmine. Patricia, is there a problem here? I could hear raised voices from my office. No problem at all, Patricia said smoothly. I was simply being thorough. This young woman has a check for a substantial amount, and I wanted to make absolutely certain everything was in order before processing it. You always tell us to be careful about fraud, do you not? Mr. Chen looked at Jasmine and his expression softened. Miss, I apologize if there has been any inconvenience. May I ask what seems to be the issue? Jasmine took a breath, trying to organize her thoughts. She wanted to tell him everything, to explain exactly how Patricia had treated her, but she also did not want to seem like she was overreacting or being difficult. I came in to deposit my paycheck, she said, keeping her voice as steady as possible. But Mrs. Hendricks has been questioning whether my check is real, and suggesting that I might be doing something fraudulent. She's been treating me like a criminal when all I am trying to do is deposit money I earned honestly. Patricia interrupted quickly. Now that is not fair. I never said you were a criminal. I simply said that I needed to verify the check, because the amount was unusual for someone your age. That is standard banking practice. We have to protect the bank and our customers from fraud. But you do not treat everyone this way, the man in the business suit spoke up again. I have been banking here for 5 years, and you have never questioned my checks like this. You smile at some people and give them a hard time to others. We all see it. Several other customers murmured in agreement. A woman with shopping bags nodded vigorously. He is right. I have been standing here watching this whole thing, and it is obvious what is happening. This is not about bank procedure. This is about discrimination. Patricia's face flushed red. That is absolutely not true. I treat every customer the same. I follow the exact same protocols for everyone who comes to my window. Then why did you not call my employer when I deposited a check last week? The man in the suit challenged. My check was for more than hers, and you processed it without any questions. Mr. Chen held up his hands. Please everyone, let us all calm down. Patricia, why do you not take a short break? I will handle this transaction personally. His voice was kind but firm. It was clear this was not a suggestion but an order. Patricia looked like she wanted to argue, but she knew better than to challenge her manager in front of customers. Fine, she said coldly. She stood up from her chair, grabbed her purse from under the counter and walked toward the back room. But before she disappeared, she shot Jasmine a look that was pure venom. It was a look that said, "This is not over." Mr. Chen moved to take Patricia's place at the window. He looked at Jasmine with genuine apology in his eyes. Miss, I'm very sorry for whatever happened here. Let me help you with your transaction. May I see your check and identification, please? Jasmine handed them over, and Mr. Chen examined them quickly and efficiently. Unlike Patricia, he did not hold the check up to the light or turn it over multiple times. He simply looked at it, typed something into the computer, and nodded. This is a check from Tech Vision Solutions, he said. That is an excellent company. Are you an intern there? Yes, sir, Jasmine replied, some of the tension leaving her shoulders. Finally, someone was treating her like a normal person. That is wonderful. They have a very competitive internship program. You should be proud. He typed a few more things on the keyboard. Your check will be deposited into your account and the funds should be available tomorrow. Is there anything else I can help you with today? No, thank you, Jasmine said quietly. She felt drained, exhausted from the confrontation. All she wanted now was to leave. Mr. Chen printed out a receipt and handed it to her along with her debit card. Again, I apologize for any inconvenience. Please know that this is not how we want our customers to be treated at Riverside Bank. If you would be willing, I would like to get your contact information so I can follow up with you about what happened today. Jasmine hesitated. Part of her just wanted to walk away and forget this ever happened. But another part of her knew that if she said nothing, Patricia would continue to treat other people the same way. How many others had stood at this window and been humiliated? How many had been too afraid or too tired to speak up? Okay, Jasmine said. She gave Mr. Chen her phone number and email address. He wrote them down carefully on a piece of paper. Thank you, he said sincerely. Someone from our customer service team will reach out to you within the next few days. We take these matters very seriously. Jasmine nodded and turned to leave. As she walked toward the door, several customers gave her supportive looks. The young mother with the toddler reached out and gently touched her arm. You handled that with so much grace, she whispered. I am proud of you. Those simple words almost broke Jasmine's composure. She blinked back tears and managed a small smile before continuing toward the exit. Her hands were shaking as she pushed open the glass door and stepped outside into the bright sunlight. She walked to her car in the parking lot and sat in the driver's seat without starting the engine. The full weight of what had just happened crashed over her. She had been humiliated, insulted, treated like a criminal in front of dozens of strangers. And for what? For having the audacity to be young and black and successful? Jasmine put her face in her hands and let out a shaky breath. She would not cry. She refused to let Patricia Hendricks have that power over her. But God, it hurt. It hurt to be seen as less than. It hurt to have her accomplishments questioned and her integrity doubted. It hurt to be reminded that no matter how hard she worked or how much she achieved, there would always be people who looked at her and saw only stereotypes and assumptions. She sat there for several minutes, trying to calm herself down. She thought about calling her mom but decided against it. Her mom would be furious and Jasmine did not have the energy to deal with that right now. Instead, she sent a text to her best friend Maya. Just had the worst experience at the bank. Tell you about it later. Maya's response came almost immediately. OMG, what happened? Are you okay? Jasmine did not reply. She was not ready to talk about it yet. She needed time to process everything. Finally, she started her car and began to drive home. The radio was playing some upbeat pop song, but she reached over and turned it off. She needed silence. She needed to think. As she drove through the familiar streets of her neighborhood, Jasmine's mind replayed the scene over and over. Patricia's suspicious looks. Her loud, carrying voice making sure everyone knew she was questioning Jasmine's check. The way she had called Tech Vision Solutions and spoken about Jasmine like she was some kind of con artist. The phrase, a girl like this, echoing in Jasmine's head, but she also thought about the people who had spoken up. The man in the business suit who had defended her. The woman who called it discrimination. The young mother who touched her arm and offered words of encouragement. Mr. Chen, who had apologized and taken her information. These people gave her some hope. They reminded her that not everyone was like Patricia. Still, the damage was done. What should have been a proud, happy moment had been ruined. Her first real paycheck, the tangible proof of her hard work and talent, had been overshadowed by racism and humiliation. Jasmine pulled into the parking lot of her apartment complex and turned off the car. She sat there for a moment longer, staring at the steering wheel. She thought about all the times in her life when she had experienced moments like this, smaller moments usually. A teacher who seemed surprised when she got the highest grade on a test. A store clerk who followed her around like she might steal something. People who touched her hair without asking. Comments about how articulate she was, as if that was unexpected. This was different, though. This was blatant. This was cruel. And it had happened in public in front of so many witnesses. Jasmine finally got out of the car and walked up to her apartment. Her roommate was not home, which was probably for the best. She went to her room, closed the door, and lay down on her bed. She stared at the ceiling, feeling hollowed out and exhausted. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from Mark, her supervisor at Tech Vision Solutions. Hey, Jasmine. Someone from Riverside Bank just called asking about you and your paycheck. I told them everything was legitimate and that you are one of our best interns. Is everything okay? Do you need anything? Friday morning came too quickly. Jasmine's alarm went off at 6:30 and she groaned, reaching over to silence it. She had not slept well. Her dreams had been filled with fragments of yesterday's humiliation at the bank, Patricia's face appearing over and over with that cold, judgmental expression. But today was important. Today was her presentation at Tech Vision Solutions. She could not let yesterday ruin today. Jasmine dragged herself out of bed and headed to the shower. The hot water helped wake her up and wash away some of the lingering anxiety from the previous day. She dressed carefully, choosing a nice blouse and slacks instead of her usual casual attire. She wanted to look professional and confident. She wanted to remind herself that she belonged in these spaces, that she had earned her place. Her natural hair was styled in twist-outs that framed her face beautifully. She looked at herself in the mirror and gave herself a pep talk. You are smart. You are capable. You are exactly where you are supposed to be. Do not let anyone make you feel otherwise. The drive to Tech Vision Solutions took 20 minutes. The company occupied 3 floors of a modern glass building downtown. Jasmine badged in through security and took the elevator up to the 7th floor, where the intern program was based. The office was already buzzing with activity despite the early hour. Mark, her supervisor, was at his desk when she arrived. He looked up and smiled. Morning, Jasmine. Ready for your big presentation? Ready as I will ever be, she replied, trying to sound more confident than she felt. Mark stood up and walked over to her. He lowered his voice. Hey, about that call yesterday from the bank. What was that all about? They were asking some pretty strange questions. Jasmine sighed. She had hoped to avoid talking about it, but Mark deserved to know. She gave him a quick summary of what had happened with Patricia. His expression grew darker with every sentence. That is completely unacceptable, he said when she finished. That is racial profiling, plain and simple. Did you report it? The bank manager took my information. He said someone would follow up. Good. Make sure you follow through on that. What that woman did was wrong, and she should face consequences. Mark shook his head in disgust. I am sorry you had to deal with that. But just so you know, everyone here at Tech Vision knows how talented and hardworking you are. That paycheck you earned? You earned every penny of it and more." His words meant more to Jasmine than he probably knew. "Thanks, Mark, that really helps." The morning passed in a blur of final preparations. Jasmine reviewed her slides one more time, practiced her talking points, and tried to calm her nerves. The presentation was scheduled for 11 o'clock in the large conference room. Several department heads would be attending, along with the other interns and their supervisors. At 10:45, people began filing into the conference room. Jasmine set up her laptop and connected it to the projector. Her hands were shaking slightly, but she took deep breaths to steady herself. She had worked hard on this presentation about improving user interface design for one of the company's mobile apps. She knew her stuff. She could do this. At exactly 11 o'clock, the presentation began. Jasmine stood at the front of the room and started speaking. Her voice was strong and clear. She explained her research, her findings, and her recommendations. She answered questions from the department heads with confidence and precision. She could see Mark in the back of the room, giving her encouraging nods. The presentation lasted 30 minutes. When it ended, the room erupted in applause. One of the department heads, a woman named Sarah Chen, stood up. "Jasmine, that was excellent work. Your analysis was thorough and your recommendations are actionable. We are definitely going to implement some of these changes. Well done." Relief and pride washed over Jasmine. She had done it. Despite everything that had happened yesterday, despite the doubt and humiliation, she had delivered a stellar presentation. This was who she really was. Not the person Patricia had tried to make her feel like, but a skilled, intelligent young woman with a bright future. After the presentation, several people came up to congratulate her. Other interns patted her on the back. Mark was beaming with pride. "I told you you would nail it," he said. "You are going places, Jasmine. Mark my words." The rest of the workday flew by. Jasmine felt lighter than she had in 24 hours. Maybe things were going to be okay after all. Maybe she could move past what happened at the bank and focus on the positive. At 4:30, Jasmine was packing up her things, getting ready to leave for the day, when Mark came over to her desk looking excited. "Hey Jasmine, Dr. Carter wants to see you in her office." Jasmine's eyes widened. "Dr. Carter? As in Dr. Michelle Carter? The CEO? The one and only?" She was in the presentation this morning. She must have been impressed. Jasmine's heart started racing for entirely different reasons now. Dr. Michelle Carter was a legend in the tech industry. She was a black woman who had built Tech Vision Solutions from the ground up, turning it into one of the most successful companies in the region. She was brilliant, powerful, and intimidating. Jasmine had never spoken to her directly before, only seen her from a distance at company meetings. "Did she say what she wants to talk to me about?" Jasmine asked nervously. "Nope, just said to send you up when you were free. Her office is on the 9th floor." Jasmine gathered her things with shaking hands. Was this good or bad? Had she done something wrong? No, Mark said Dr. Carter had been impressed. This had to be a good thing, right? She took the elevator up 2 floors and stepped out into the executive suite. Everything here was even nicer than the rest of the building. Plush carpets, expensive artwork on the walls, floor-to-ceiling windows with stunning views of the city. The receptionist smiled at her. "You must be Jasmine Washington. Dr. Carter is expecting you." "Go right in." Jasmine knocked on the large wooden door and heard a voice call out, "Come in." She pushed open the door and stepped into the most beautiful office she had ever seen. It was spacious and elegant, with modern furniture and shelves lined with books and awards. And there, behind a massive desk, sat Dr. Michelle Carter herself. Dr. Carter was in her early 50s, a tall, striking woman with natural hair styled in an elegant updo. She wore a tailored navy suit that probably cost more than Jasmine's entire wardrobe, but her smile was warm and genuine as she stood up to greet Jasmine. "Jasmine, thank you for coming up. Please have a seat." She gestured to a comfortable chair across from her desk. Jasmine sat down, trying not to look as nervous as she felt. "Thank you for inviting me, Dr. Carter. It is an honor to meet you. The honor is mine. I attended your presentation this morning, and I have to say I was thoroughly impressed. Your work on the UI redesign was exceptional, thoughtful, data-driven, and creative. That is exactly the kind of thinking we value here at Tech Vision." "Thank you so much," Jasmine said, her voice warm with gratitude. "That means the world coming from you." Dr. Carter leaned back in her chair, studying Jasmine with intelligent eyes. Mark tells me you are studying computer science at community college. What are your long-term goals? Jasmine talked about her plans to transfer to a 4-year university, eventually get her master's degree, and work in tech doing meaningful work that helped people. Dr. Carter listened intently, nodding and asking thoughtful questions. The conversation flowed naturally, and Jasmine found herself relaxing. Dr. Carter was intimidating because of her accomplishments, but she was also kind and genuinely interested in Jasmine's story. They talked for almost 30 minutes. Finally, Dr. Carter glanced at her watch. I hate to cut this short, but I have a meeting I need to get to. Actually, it is at Riverside Bank of all places. I sit on the board of directors for their parent company. Jasmine's heart stopped. Riverside Bank. Yes, do you bank there? This was it. This was the moment. Jasmine could keep quiet and let it go, or she could speak up. She thought about Patricia's face, her insulting words, the humiliation she had felt. She thought about Jessica's words about holding people accountable. She thought about all the other people Patricia might treat the same way if no one said anything. Actually, Dr. Carter, Jasmine said slowly, I had a terrible experience at Riverside Bank yesterday. That is why your colleague Mark received that strange phone call. Dr. Carter's expression grew serious. Tell me what happened. And Jasmine did. She told Dr. Carter everything, from the moment she walked into the bank to the moment she left. She described Patricia's suspicions, her loud accusations, the way she had questioned Jasmine's legitimacy in front of everyone. Dr. Carter's face grew darker with each detail. When Jasmine finished, there was a long moment of silence. Dr. Carter's jaw was tight and her eyes blazed with controlled anger. This woman, Patricia Hendricks, she racially profiled you. Yes, ma'am. I believe so. And she called our company questioning whether your paycheck was legitimate, implying that you might have stolen or forged it. Yes, ma'am. Dr. Carter stood up from her desk and walked to the window looking out over the city. When she spoke again, her voice was ice-cold with fury. That is absolutely unacceptable. What you experienced was discrimination, pure and simple, and the fact that it happened at a bank whose parent company I sit on the board of makes it even more personal. She turned back to Jasmine. I want you to know something, Jasmine. You did nothing wrong. You earned that paycheck. You earned your place here. And what that woman did to you was not only cruel and racist, it was illegal. I know, Jasmine said quietly, but I did not know what to do about it. I gave my information to the branch manager, but I do not know if anything will actually happen. Dr. Carter walked back to her desk and picked up her phone. She pressed a button. Cancel my next meeting and reschedule it. Something urgent has come up. She looked at Jasmine. Would you be willing to come with me to Riverside Bank right now? I think it is time we address this situation directly. Jasmine's eyes widened. Right now? Right now. I want to hear directly from this Patricia Hendricks about why she thought it was appropriate to treat you that way. And I want the branch manager to understand the seriousness of what happened. Will you come with me? Part of Jasmine wanted to say no, wanted to avoid going back to that place and reliving the humiliation. But a stronger part of her wanted justice, wanted to stand up and be heard, wanted to make sure this never happened to anyone else. Yes, Jasmine said firmly. I will come with you. Dr. Carter smiled, and it was a smile that promised retribution. Good. Let us go. My car is in the executive garage. They took the elevator down together. Dr. Carter's assistant, a young man named James, joined them, along with Dr. Carter's lawyer, a sharp-eyed woman named Andrea Lopez. We might need legal present for this, Dr. Carter explained. They walked through the parking garage to Dr. C. Carter's car, a sleek black luxury sedan. The driver held the door open for them. Jasmine slid into the leather seat, still hardly believing this was happening. Yesterday, she had been humiliated and powerless. Today, she was riding in a CEO's car with a lawyer heading back to confront her humiliator. The drive to Riverside Bank took 15 minutes. Jasmine's nerves grew with each passing block. She watched the familiar streets go by, remembering how she had driven this same route yesterday, excited about depositing her first real paycheck. How quickly things had changed. Dr. Carter seemed to sense her anxiety. She reached over and patted Jasmine's hand. You are very brave for speaking up about this. Many people would have just let it go, tried to forget about it. But silence allows these things to continue. You are doing the right thing. I am scared, Jasmine admitted. What if they do not believe me? What if they think I am making it up or exaggerating? They will believe you, Dr. Carter said firmly. Because I believe you, and I have significant influence with this bank. But more importantly, I suspect you were not the only one who witnessed what happened. The truth has a way of coming to light. The car pulled into the bank parking lot. It was late afternoon now, and the bank would be open for another hour. Jasmine's stomach churned as they all got out of the car. Dr. Carter straightened her suit jacket and looked at her companions. Remember, we are here to address a serious complaint of discrimination. We will be professional but firm. Understood? Everyone nodded. They walked toward the bank entrance, Dr. Carter leading the way with Jasmine at her side. Andrea the lawyer was on Jasmine's other side, and James followed behind them. They looked like a powerful delegation, which Jasmine supposed they were. Dr. Carter pulled open the glass door and they all walked inside. The bank looked just as it had yesterday. Same marble floors, same long counter with tellers, same customers waiting in line. But today everything felt different. Today, Jasmine was not alone. Several heads turned as their group entered. 4 well-dressed people walking in together with purpose drew attention. Jasmine scanned the teller windows. Her heart sank and raced at the same time. Patricia was there, at her usual window helping a customer. She had not seen them yet. Mr. Chen, the branch manager, was near the counter talking to another employee. He looked up and his eyes widened when he saw Dr. Carter. He clearly recognized her. He immediately walked over, extending his hand with a professional smile. Dr. Carter, what a pleasant surprise. We were not expecting you today. Is everything all right? His eyes flicked to Jasmine, and she saw recognition dawn in his expression. His smile faltered slightly. Mr. Chen, Dr. Carter said, her tone cordial but cool. I am here because of a serious matter involving one of your employees and one of my interns. Is there somewhere private we can talk? Mr. Chen's face paled slightly. Of course, please come to my office. He gestured toward the back of the bank. Actually, Dr. Carter said, not moving, I would prefer to address this matter publicly, in the same manner that my intern was treated publicly. Patricia Hendricks is the employee in question. I would like to speak with her. Mr. Chen looked uncomfortable now, very uncomfortable. Other customers were starting to notice that something was happening. Patricia had just finished with her customer and looked up. When she saw Jasmine, her face went through a series of expressions: surprise, confusion, and then something like anger or fear. Dr. Carter walked directly to Patricia's window with Jasmine beside her. Patricia straightened in her chair, trying to compose herself. May I help you? She asked, but her voice was tight. Patricia Hendricks? Dr. Carter asked, though she clearly already knew the answer. Yes, and you are? I am Dr. Michelle Carter, CEO of Tech Vision Solutions and board member of Western Financial Group, the parent company of this bank. She let that sink in for a moment. Patricia's face went from red to white. This is Jasmine Washington, one of our top interns. I believe you met her yesterday. Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish. I was just doing my job. I verify checks. It is standard procedure. Standard procedure, Dr. Carter repeated, her voice like ice. Is it standard procedure to loudly question a customer's legitimacy in front of an entire lobby? Is it standard procedure to suggest that a young black woman could not possibly have earned her paycheck honestly? Is it standard procedure to call someone's employer and imply they might be a thief or a fraud? By now everyone in the bank was watching and listening. Other tellers had stopped working. Customers stood frozen, their transactions forgotten. The bank had gone almost completely silent except for Dr. Carter's voice. I never said she was a thief, Patricia protested weakly. I was just being careful. You never know these days. You never know what exactly? Dr. Carter challenged. You never know if a young black woman in casual clothes might be trying to pull something. Because I watched you work yesterday through the bank's security footage that Mr. Chen was kind enough to pull up for me during a phone call this morning. You smiled at the white customers. You processed their transactions quickly and professionally. But when Jasmine approached your window, your entire demeanor changed. Patricia looked desperately at Mr. Chen, who stood off to the side looking mortified. Mr. Chen, I was following protocol. Tell her. But Mr. Chen shook his head slowly. Patricia, I reviewed the security footage this morning as well. I also spoke with several customers who were here yesterday and called to complain about what they witnessed. Your behavior was not protocol. It was discriminatory. And it is not reflective of the values of Riverside Bank. One of the customers from yesterday, the man in the business suit, was actually in line again today. He spoke up. I was here yesterday. I saw the whole thing. This woman, he pointed at Patricia, treated this young lady like garbage. She was rude, accusatory, and completely out of line. I almost closed my account over it. Another customer nodded. I was here too. What she did was wrong. Plain wrong. Patricia's eyes filled with tears, but they looked more like tears of anger and frustration than remorse. I have worked here for 15 years. I have never had a complaint before. This is not fair. What is not fair? Dr. Carter said, her voice cutting through Patricia's protests. Is treating someone differently because of the color of their skin. What is not fair is making assumptions about someone's character based on how they look. What is not fair is humiliating a young woman who had done nothing wrong except try to deposit her hard-earned paycheck. Dr. Carter turned to Mr. Chen. I assume you will be taking appropriate action regarding this employee? Mr. Chen nodded quickly. Yes, absolutely. Patricia, I need you to collect your things and come with me to my office immediately. You are suspended pending a full investigation. Suspended? Patricia's voice rose. You are suspending me because I was doing my job? You were not doing your job, Mr. Chen said firmly. You were violating our non-discrimination policy and our code of conduct. Now please come with me. Patricia looked around the bank as if hoping someone would defend her, but everyone just stared. Some looked satisfied. Others looked uncomfortable, but said nothing. She grabbed her purse from under the counter, shooting Jasmine one last hateful look, and followed Mr. Chen to his office. After Patricia and Mr. Chen disappeared into the office, the bank remained eerily quiet. Customers whispered to each other, phones were out, and Jasmine realized that people were likely recording or texting about what they had just witnessed. In today's world, news traveled fast, especially when it involved justice being served. Dr. Carter turned to Jasmine with a softer expression. How are you doing? I know that was not easy. I am okay, Jasmine said, though her hands were shaking. Thank you for doing this, for believing me. I will always believe young women like you who speak truth to power, Dr. Carter said, and I will always use whatever power I have to fight against discrimination and injustice. One of the other bank tellers, the young man with glasses that Jasmine had noticed yesterday, approached them hesitantly. Excuse me, he said quietly. I just wanted to say that I am sorry about what happened to you yesterday. I saw it and it made me uncomfortable, but I did not speak up. I should have. I am sorry. Jasmine looked at him and saw genuine remorse in his eyes. Thank you for saying that. It takes courage to admit when we could have done better. A woman who had been standing in line came over next. She was middle-aged with kind eyes. I was not here yesterday, but I have banked here for 10 years. Patricia has always been cold to certain customers. I never said anything because I thought maybe I was imagining it, or maybe it was not my place, but I should have spoken up a long time ago. I am glad this is finally being addressed. More people came forward, some who had witnessed yesterday's incident, others who had their own stories about Patricia's behavior over the years. A pattern emerged. Patricia had a history of treating people differently based on their appearance, their age, their race. She was sweet to well-dressed older white customers and cold or suspicious toward young people, people of color, people who did not fit her narrow definition of respectable. Dr. Carter listened to every story, and her expression grew darker. She turned to Andrea, her lawyer. I want documentation of every single one of these accounts. This is not an isolated incident. This is a pattern of discriminatory behavior. Andrea pulled out her tablet and began taking notes, getting names and contact information from everyone willing to share their experiences. It quickly became clear that Patricia's behavior had been a problem for a long time, but the bank had either not noticed or not cared to address it. About 20 minutes later, Mr. Chen emerged from his office looking exhausted and stressed. Dr. Carter immediately approached him. "Mr. Chen, I would like to speak with you privately now." "Along with Ms. Lopez, my attorney." "Of course. Please come to my office." He led them back and Jasmine followed along with James. Mr. Chen's office was small but neat, with a desk covered in papers and a wall of filing cabinets. He gestured for everyone to sit down, though there were not enough chairs. James remained standing by the door. Dr. Carter wasted no time. "Mr. Chen, I have just heard from multiple customers about Patricia Hendricks's pattern of discriminatory behavior. This was not a one-time mistake or a misunderstanding. This is systematic bias that has been happening for years. Why was this not addressed before?" Mr. Chen rubbed his face tiredly. "I honestly did not know the extent of it. Patricia had good performance reviews. She processes transactions accurately and follows most procedures. If there were complaints, they did not make it to me." "Then that suggests a systemic failure in your complaint and feedback system," Andrea said, making notes. "Customers should have a clear and accessible way to report concerns about employee behavior." "We do have a system," Mr. Chen said defensively. "But maybe it is not working as well as it should be." "Clearly not," Dr. Carter said, "because multiple people have told me today that they have been uncomfortable with Patricia's behavior for years. That is not acceptable. This bank needs to do better." Mr. Chen nodded. "You are right. Absolutely right. I want to assure you that we are taking this very seriously. Patricia is suspended as of right now. We will conduct a full investigation, interview witnesses, review security footage. If the investigation confirms what we are hearing today, she will be terminated." "If." Dr. Carter raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Chen, I watched the security footage myself this morning when I called you. There is no if about it. The evidence is clear." "You are right," Mr. Chen said quickly. "When I spoke with you this morning, I saw the footage and it was damning. I have also been taking statements from customers all day. Patricia will be terminated. I just need to follow proper HR procedures to make it official and legal." "How long will that take?" Andrea asked. "A few days at most. By early next week, she will no longer be employed here." Dr. Carter turned to Jasmine. "Is that acceptable to you?" Jasmine thought about it. Part of her wanted to demand that Patricia be fired immediately, escorted out that very moment. But she also understood that there were legal procedures that needed to be followed. "Yes, that is acceptable as long as it actually happens." "It will happen," Mr. Chen said firmly. "You have my word, and Dr. Carter, as a board member of our parent company, you will be able to verify that we follow through." "I will be watching closely," Dr. Carter assured him. "But beyond just firing Patricia, what is this bank going to do to ensure this never happens again? What training will employees receive? What oversight will be implemented?" Mr. Chen pulled out a notepad and began writing as they talked. "We will implement mandatory bias and sensitivity training for all employees, not just tellers but everyone. We will review our complaint procedures and make them more accessible and transparent. We will add diversity and inclusion metrics to employee performance reviews, and we will bring in outside consultants to audit our practices and make recommendations." "That is a good start," Dr. Carter said. "I will also be recommending to the board that we implement these changes across all Riverside Bank branches, not just this one. If it happened here, it could be happening elsewhere." "I agree completely," Mr. Chen said. Andrea spoke up. "There is also the matter of Ms. Washington's experience. She suffered emotional distress and public humiliation due to this bank's employee. The bank should be prepared to offer appropriate compensation and a formal apology." Mr. Chen looked at Jasmine. "Ms. Washington, I want to offer you my deepest and most sincere apology for what you experienced. What Patricia did was wrong, and it does not reflect the values of Riverside Bank. I am truly sorry." Jasmine nodded, accepting his apology. It felt genuine. "As for compensation," Mr. Chen continued, "we would like to offer you free banking services for 5 years, no fees of any kind on any accounts you have with us. Additionally, we will make a donation of $5,000 to a charity of your choice. Jasmine's eyes widened. That was generous, more than she had expected. Thank you. That is very kind. It is the least we can do, Mr. Chen said. And please know that if you ever experience any issues with any employee at any Riverside Bank branch, you can contact me directly. He handed her his business card with his cell phone number written on the back. Dr. Carter stood up, signaling the meeting was over. Thank you for your time, Mr. Chen. I expect to see real change, not just words. I will be following up regularly to ensure these commitments are kept. You have my word, Mr. Chen said, standing as well and shaking her hand. They all filed out of the office and back into the main lobby of the bank. Some of the same customers were still there, clearly waiting to see what would happen. When they saw Jasmine and Dr. Carter emerge, a few of them actually clapped. An elderly black woman approached Jasmine and took her hands. Baby girl, I'm so proud of you for speaking up. When I was your age, we did not have powerful people like Dr. Carter fighting for us. We had to swallow our pride and accept bad treatment because we had no choice. But you stood up for yourself. You made sure that woman will face consequences. Thank you for your bravery. Tears pricked at Jasmine's eyes. Thank you. That means so much. The woman squeezed her hands. You keep shining, you hear me? Do not let anyone dim your light. As they walked toward the exit, Jasmine felt different than she had when she left this bank yesterday. Yesterday she had felt small and powerless. Today she felt strong. Today she had learned that using her voice mattered, that speaking truth mattered, that standing up against injustice mattered. They stepped outside into the late afternoon sun. Dr. Carter turned to Jasmine. I am very proud of you. What you did today took courage. Many people would have let this go, would have swallowed their anger and moved on. But you spoke up, and because of that, things are going to change. Not just for you, but for everyone who banks here. I could not have done it without you, Jasmine said honestly. If you had not been there, I do not think anyone would have taken me seriously. Perhaps, Dr. Carter acknowledged. But I was only able to help because you told me what happened. You were the one who spoke up first. Never forget that. Your voice is powerful, Jasmine. Use it. They walked to the car where the driver was waiting. As they drove away from the bank, Jasmine looked back at the building. She thought about Patricia in Mr. Chen's office, probably angry and defensive, probably still not fully understanding what she had done wrong. She thought about the other customers who had shared their stories, finding their voices after years of silence. She thought about the changes that would now be implemented because one person decided to speak up. It was not just about her anymore. It was bigger than that. Her experience had opened a door for others to be heard, for a toxic employee to be removed, for a bank to examine its practices and do better. That felt important. That felt meaningful. As the car merged into traffic, Dr. Carter turned to Jasmine. You know, we have not had dinner yet. Would you like to join me? I would love to continue our conversation from earlier about your future goals. I would love that, Jasmine said, smiling genuinely for the first time in 2 days. Excellent. I know a wonderful restaurant not far from here. James, call ahead and get us a table for 2. Right away, Dr. Carter, James said, pulling out his phone. As they drove through the city, Jasmine felt a sense of peace settling over her. What happened at the bank had been traumatic and wrong, but good had come from it too. She had learned that she was stronger than she thought. She had learned that allies existed in unexpected places. She had learned that speaking up, even when it was scary, was always worth it. And she had gained a mentor in Dr. Michelle Carter, a woman who had walked a similar path and understood the unique challenges that young black women faced in the professional world. That connection, that relationship, would prove to be invaluable in the years to come. The restaurant was elegant and upscale. Jasmine had never been to a place this nice before. But Dr. Carter made her feel comfortable, talking to her like an equal, asking about her interests and dreams. They talked about technology and innovation and making a difference in the world. They talked about the obstacles they had both faced and overcome. They talked about the importance of lifting others up as you climb. Over dessert, Dr. Carter made Jasmine an offer. I would like to officially mentor you if you are interested. Not just during your internship, but beyond. I see so much potential in you, Jasmine. With guidance and support, I believe you could do extraordinary things. Jasmine felt tears spring to her eyes again, but this time they were happy tears. I would be honored. Thank you so much, Dr. Carter. Please call me Michelle when we are together like this, Dr. Carter said with a warm smile. We are going to be spending a lot of time together, and I want our relationship to feel natural and comfortable. As the evening wound down and Dr. Carter's driver took Jasmine home, Jasmine reflected on everything that had happened in the past 48 hours. She had experienced the worst of humanity and the best of humanity. She had been torn down and lifted up. She had learned hard lessons about the reality of living in a world where prejudice still existed, but she had also learned that justice was possible, that allies existed, that her voice mattered. When she got home, Jessica was waiting anxiously. "Oh my God, where have you been?" "I was about to call the police." "You were supposed to be home hours ago." Jasmine laughed and told her roommate everything. Jessica listened with her mouth hanging open, gasping at all the right moments, cheering when Jasmine described Patricia's face as she was suspended. "This is amazing," Jessica said when Jasmine finished. "This is like something out of a movie. The CEO showing up at the bank, Patricia getting suspended right there in front of everyone, justice served. I love it." "It does feel pretty surreal," Jasmine admitted. "I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and find out it was all a dream." "Well, it is not a dream. It is real, and you did that. You spoke up and made it happen." Jessica hugged her friend tightly. "I am so proud of you, Jazz." That night, Jasmine lay in bed feeling truly at peace for the first time since walking into Riverside Bank on Thursday afternoon. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from Mark. "Heard about what happened today. Dr. Carter filled me in. You are officially my hero. See you Monday." Another text came in, this time from a number she did not recognize. "Hi Jasmine, this is Sarah Chen from the UI department. Dr. Carter told me what you went through. I wanted you to know that we all support you and we are here if you need anything. You are a valued member of the TechVision family." More messages followed from other people at the company. Word had spread quickly. Everyone was supportive and proud. Jasmine felt overwhelmed by the outpouring of kindness. She opened her social media for the first time since the incident. Jessica had convinced her that sharing her story might help others. Jasmine typed out a post, carefully choosing her words. "Yesterday I experienced racial profiling at a bank. I was humiliated and treated like a criminal for trying to deposit my own paycheck. Today, with the support of amazing people including my CEO, justice was served. The employee who discriminated against me is facing consequences, and the bank is implementing changes. I am sharing this because I know I am not the only one who has experienced this kind of treatment. If you have been discriminated against, speak up. Your voice matters. Change is possible." She hit post and put her phone down, not knowing what to expect. Within minutes, her phone was buzzing nonstop. Likes, shares, comments. People from her college, from her neighborhood, from her church, from TechVision Solutions. Strangers from across the city and beyond. Everyone was supportive. Everyone was outraged on her behalf. Everyone was proud of her for standing up. The post went viral overnight. By morning, it had been shared thousands of times. Local news outlets were reaching out asking for interviews. The hashtag Justice for Jasmine was trending. Other people began sharing their own stories of discrimination at banks and other institutions, inspired by Jasmine's courage. Jessica came into Jasmine's room Saturday morning, waving her phone. "Have you seen this? You are famous. Everyone is talking about you." Jasmine rubbed her eyes sleepily and checked her phone. Her social media notifications were in the thousands. There were messages from reporters, from civil rights organizations, from other young Black women thanking her for speaking up. It was overwhelming in the best possible way, but there were also negative messages. People calling her sensitive, saying she was playing the race card, claiming Patricia was just doing her job. Jasmine expected this. She knew that not everyone would understand or support her. But the positive messages far outnumbered the negative ones. One message in particular caught her attention. It was from a young Black woman named Destiny. "I had almost the exact same experience at a different Riverside Bank branch last year. I was so humiliated that I closed my account and never said anything. I wish I had been brave like you. Thank you for fighting back and showing me that I should have spoken up too." Jasmine responded, "It is not too late to speak up now. Your story matters. Contact Riverside Bank and tell them what happened. Add your voice to the chorus demanding change." Over the weekend, more stories emerged. Other people who had been treated poorly by Patricia over the years. People who had experienced discrimination at other Riverside Bank branches. The bank's social media pages were flooded with comments and complaints. This was no longer just about Jasmine's experience. It had become a movement. Riverside Bank's corporate office released a statement Saturday evening. We are deeply disturbed by the reports of discriminatory behavior at our locations. We apologize to Ms. Washington and to all customers who have had negative experiences. We are conducting thorough investigations and implementing comprehensive training programs across all branches. Employees who engage in discriminatory behavior will face termination. We are committed to creating a welcoming and respectful environment for all customers. The statement was shared widely. Some people thought it was genuine. Others thought it was just damage control. But Jasmine knew that real change was happening behind the scenes because Dr. Carter was making sure of it. On Monday morning, Jasmine returned to TechVision Solutions and was greeted like a hero. Coworkers congratulated her. Her fellow interns gave her a standing ovation when she walked into the intern workspace. Even people she had never met stopped her in the hallways to shake her hand and thank her for her courage. Mark pulled her aside. Dr. Carter wants you to know that the bank officially terminated Patricia Hendricks this morning. It is done. She is gone. Jasmine felt a wave of relief wash over her. It was really over. Patricia would never treat another customer the way she had treated Jasmine. Justice had been served. But more importantly, Jasmine had learned something valuable about herself. She had learned that she was strong enough to stand up to injustice. She had learned that her voice had power. She had learned that one person speaking up could create ripples that turned into waves of change. The experience had been painful, but it had also been transformative. Jasmine Washington walked into Riverside Bank on Thursday as a nervous college student, depositing her first paycheck. She walked out of it eventually as a young woman who understood her worth and was not afraid to demand respect. And that, more than anything else, was the real victory. 1 year later, Jasmine Washington stood in front of the mirror in her bedroom, adjusting the collar of her blazer. She looked different now. Not physically, but there was something in her eyes, a confidence and strength that had not been there before. The events of that summer had changed her in profound ways. So much had happened in 12 months. Her internship at TechVision Solutions had turned into a part-time position during the school year, allowing her to continue working while finishing her degree. She had transferred from community college to a prestigious 4-year university with a full scholarship, thanks in large part to a recommendation letter from Dr. Michelle Carter herself. The mentorship that Dr. Carter had offered that night over dinner had become one of the most important relationships in Jasmine's life. They met twice a month for coffee or lunch, talking about everything from career strategies to handling workplace challenges to navigating life as a Black woman in the tech industry. Dr. Carter had introduced Jasmine to other influential people in the business world, expanding her network and opening doors she never could have opened on her own. But beyond the professional gains, Dr. Carter had given Jasmine something even more valuable, the wisdom that came from someone who had walked a similar path. Dr. Carter had her own stories of discrimination and prejudice, of being underestimated and having to prove herself over and over again. She taught Jasmine how to turn those experiences into fuel for success, rather than letting them become sources of bitterness. Today was special, though. Today, Jasmine was not going to TechVision Solutions for work. Today, she was going somewhere else entirely. "You ready?" Jessica called from the living room. She had agreed to drive Jasmine to her destination. Almost. Jasmine grabbed her portfolio and her purse. Inside the portfolio were business plans, financial projections, market research, and other documents she had spent months preparing. Today was the day she had been working toward for the past 6 months. They drove through the city, Jessica chattering nervously about her own nursing school finals while Jasmine sat quietly, reviewing her notes one last time. Finally, they pulled up in front of a familiar building, Riverside Bank. "You sure you want to do this here?" Jessica asked. "After everything that happened?" "I am sure," Jasmine said with a smile. "This is exactly where I need to do this." She got out of the car and walked toward the bank entrance. She had not been back here since that day with Dr. Carter. The bank looked the same on the outside, but she knew things were different on the inside. The news coverage and social media storm had forced Riverside Bank to make real changes. They had brought in diversity consultants, implemented bias training, revised their complaint procedures, and hired a new VP of diversity and inclusion. Mr. Chen had kept his word about everything. The bank had donated $5,000 to a scholarship fund for young black students pursuing STEM careers, the charity Jasmine had chosen. They had given her free banking for 5 years, and they had made systemic changes to prevent what happened to Jasmine from happening to anyone else. Jasmine pushed open the glass door and stepped inside. The lobby looked different. There were new posters on the walls about respect and inclusion. The teller windows had been reorganized, and most importantly, there was a new system where customers could anonymously report concerns about employee behavior through tablets mounted near the entrance. Mr. Chen was waiting for her near the customer service area. He smiled and walked over with his hand extended. "Ms. Washington, thank you for coming. It is good to see you again." "Thank you for meeting with me, Mr. Chen," Jasmine said, shaking his hand. Their relationship had evolved over the past year. After the incident, he had reached out several times to update her on the changes being implemented at the bank. He had been genuine in his commitment to doing better, and Jasmine respected that. "Please come to my office. Can I get you anything? Coffee, water?" "Water would be great, thank you." They settled into his office, and Jasmine laid out her portfolio on his desk. "Mr. Chen, I am here today to open a business account. I am starting my own company." His eyebrows raised in surprise and interest. "That is wonderful. Tell me about it." Jasmine took a breath and launched into her presentation. Over the past 6 months, she had been working on a business plan for a tech startup. Her company, called Equitech, would create software solutions specifically designed to help businesses identify and eliminate bias in their hiring, promotion, and customer service practices. It would use artificial intelligence and data analysis to flag patterns of discrimination that humans might miss or ignore. The idea had come directly from her experience at Riverside Bank. If there had been better systems in place to track customer complaints and employee behavior patterns, Patricia's discrimination might have been caught and addressed years earlier. Jasmine wanted to create tools that would help companies be better, fairer, and more inclusive. As she talked, Mr. Chen listened intently, occasionally asking questions or nodding in understanding. When she finished, he sat back in his chair with an impressed expression. "This is extraordinary work, Ms. Washington. Your business plan is thorough and well-researched. The market analysis is solid, and frankly, this is exactly the kind of service that companies need." "Thank you," Jasmine said. "I have been working with Dr. Carter and several business professors at my university to develop this. I also have commitments from 3 initial clients who want to pilot the software, including Tech Vision Solutions. I would like Riverside Bank to be your 4th client, Mr. Chen said without hesitation. "In fact, I would like to discuss this with our regional management. This could be something we implement across all of our branches." Jasmine's heart soared. She had hoped he might be interested, but she had not expected such an enthusiastic response. "That would be amazing. But first, let us get your business account set up." Mr. Chen stood and gestured toward the door. "Let me introduce you to one of our senior account managers. She will take excellent care of you." They walked out into the lobby together. Jasmine noticed that some of the tellers were different from a year ago. New faces, more diversity in age and race. The young man with glasses was still there, though. He saw Jasmine and gave her a respectful nod, which she returned. Mr. Chen brought her to a desk where a professional-looking black woman in her 30s sat. Her name tag read, "Angela Morrison, Senior Account Manager." "Angela, this is Ms. Jasmine Washington. She is opening a business account for her new startup. Please give her our premium business services package and waive all fees for the first year." "Of course, Mr. Chen. Ms. Washington, it is a pleasure to meet you." Angela shook Jasmine's hand warmly. "Please have a seat." As Mr. Chen walked away, Angela pulled up the necessary forms on her computer. "So, tell me about your business." "I love working with new entrepreneurs." Jasmine explained Equitech again, and Angela's eyes lit up with interest. "That is brilliant. My sister works in HR at a tech company and they struggle with these issues all the time. I am going to tell her about your company." "That would be wonderful. Here is my business card. Jasmine handed over one of the cards she had recently printed. It felt surreal to have her own business cards. Jasmine Washington, founder and CEO, Equitech Solutions. The account opening process was smooth and efficient. Angela was professional, friendly, and thorough. She explained all the features of the business account, the online banking tools, the credit card options, the loan programs available for small businesses. It was exactly the experience Jasmine should have had a year ago when she came in to deposit her first paycheck. When they finished, Angela printed out all the paperwork and handed Jasmine her new business debit card. Congratulations on your new venture, Ms. Washington. I have a feeling you are going to do amazing things. Thank you so much. Jasmine gathered her papers and stood to leave. As she walked toward the exit, she paused and looked around the bank one more time. A young black man, probably in his early 20s, was at one of the teller windows depositing a check. The teller, a middle-aged white woman, was smiling and processing his transaction normally, making pleasant conversation. No suspicion, no accusations, no drama. Just a regular banking transaction between two human beings treating each other with respect. Jasmine smiled to herself. This was why she had fought back. This was why speaking up mattered. That young man would never know that his simple, uneventful banking experience was partly possible because Jasmine had refused to accept discrimination quietly. She walked out into the sunshine and pulled out her phone to call Dr. Carter. Michelle answered on the second ring. How did it go? She asked eagerly. Perfect. I opened the account and Mr. Chen wants Riverside Bank to be one of our pilot clients. He's going to talk to regional management about implementing Equitech across all their branches. I knew it. Dr. Carter's voice was filled with pride. I told you that your experience could be transformed into something powerful. You took pain and turned it into purpose. That is the mark of a true entrepreneur and leader. I could not have done any of this without you, Jasmine said honestly. You absolutely could have. You have always had this strength and brilliance inside you. I just helped you see it. Now let us talk about next steps. When can you come by the office? I want to introduce you to some venture capitalists I know. Equitech is going to need funding to scale, and I have some connections who would be very interested in what you are building. They talked for a few more minutes about strategy and timelines before hanging up. Jasmine stood on the sidewalk looking up at the sky, feeling grateful and hopeful and powerful. Her phone buzzed. It was a text from her mom. How did it go at the bank, baby? Are you officially a business owner now? Jasmine texted back, Yes, everything went great. I will tell you all about it at dinner tonight. I love you, Mom. Her mom's response came immediately. I am so proud of you. Your father would be too. Jasmine's father had passed away when she was 12. He had been a mechanic who worked hard every day to provide for his family. He had always told Jasmine that she was destined for great things, that she was smart and capable and could do anything she set her mind to. She wished he could be here to see this moment, but she felt his presence anyway, cheering her on from wherever he was. Jessica pulled up in her car, honking the horn. Get in, CEO. We need to celebrate. Jasmine laughed and climbed into the passenger seat. Where are we going? Ice cream, obviously. Success must be celebrated with ice cream. It is the law. They drove to their favorite ice cream shop, the same place they had gone to celebrate when Jasmine got accepted to the Tech Vision internship program. It felt like a lifetime ago, though it had only been a year and a half. As they sat outside eating their ice cream, Jessica raised her cone in a toast. To Jasmine Washington, founder and CEO of Equitech, fighter of injustice, and my best friend. To new beginnings, Jasmine added, clinking her cone against Jessica's. They talked about the future, about Jasmine's business plans and Jessica's nursing career. They talked about their dreams and goals. They talked about how far they had both come since that day at the bank. Do you ever think about Patricia? Jessica asked at one point. Do you wonder what she is doing now? Jasmine had actually looked her up a few months ago out of curiosity. Patricia had moved to a different state and was working in retail now, not banking. There were no social media posts, no public statements, no indication that she had learned anything from the experience. Jasmine hoped she had, but she had her doubts. Sometimes, Jasmine admitted, but I do not think about her much anymore. She was just one person in one moment of my life. She does not get to define me or my story. I am so much more than what she tried to make me feel I was. Damn right you are, Jessica said fiercely. You are amazing. That evening, Jasmine had dinner with her mom and her younger brother, Marcus. Her mom had cooked all of Jasmine's favorite foods, a celebratory meal. Marcus, now 16 and starting to think about his own future, listened with wide eyes as Jasmine told them about starting her company. So you are like a real boss now? He asked. You are going to have employees and everything? Eventually, yes. Right now it is just me, but as the company grows, I will hire a team. That is so cool. I want to have my own business someday too. You can, Jasmine told him. You can do anything you work hard for. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. Her mom reached across the table and squeezed Jasmine's hand. I am so proud of the woman you have become. You went through something difficult and painful, and instead of letting it break you, you let it build you. That takes real strength. You taught me that. Mom, you and Dad, you taught me to never give up, to always stand up for what is right, to turn obstacles into opportunities. Later that night, alone in her room, Jasmine opened her laptop and started working on her business development plans. She had investor meetings to prepare for, software features to design, marketing strategies to develop. There was so much work ahead of her, but she was excited rather than intimidated. Her phone buzzed with a notification. Someone had commented on her original social media post from a year ago, the one about her experience at the bank. Even though it was old, people still found it and drew inspiration from it. The comment read, I just read your story for the first time and it gave me the courage to report discrimination I experienced at my workplace. Thank you for speaking up. You helped me find my voice. Jasmine smiled and typed a response. I am so proud of you for speaking up. Your voice matters. Never forget that. She closed her laptop and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there were other young women who would face discrimination, who would be underestimated, who would have their worth questioned. But maybe, because of stories like Jasmine's, they would know that they did not have to accept it. Maybe they would speak up. Maybe they would fight back. Maybe they would turn their pain into power. Jasmine thought about everything that had led to this moment. A racist bank teller, a humiliating experience, a CEO who believed her, a viral social media post, a movement for change, and now a company built on the foundation of making the world more fair and just. Life had a funny way of working out sometimes. What had seemed like one of the worst days of her life had actually been a turning point, the moment when everything changed for the better, not because the discrimination was acceptable, but because Jasmine had refused to let it define her. She had taken that terrible experience and transformed it into motivation, into purpose, into a successful business that would help prevent others from experiencing the same pain. 1 year ago, Jasmine Washington walked into Riverside Bank as a nervous intern depositing her first paycheck. Today, she walked back into that same bank as a confident entrepreneur, opening her first business account. The contrast was striking and powerful, but the most important change was not in her title or her bank account or her business cards. The most important change was in how she saw herself. She was not just Jasmine Washington, college student. She was not just Jasmine Washington, victim of discrimination. She was Jasmine Washington, fighter, survivor, entrepreneur, changemaker. She was a young woman who knew her worth and was not afraid to demand that others recognize it too. And that, more than anything else, was her true success story.